Welcome to Euro Bangla City SATV News. This is Shibala Alam with our headlines. Educational institutions up to higher secondary level must assign their own staff to make sure students cross roads safely, said Prime Minister. Dhaka and Rangamati marked as red zones because of their high infection rates. DGHS published a list categorizing district into 3 zones. Cox's Bazar Court has fixed January 31st to deliver the judgment in Major Sinha Rashid Khan murder case. 15 accused are in jail. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina today said educational institutions up to higher secondary level must assign their own staff to make sure that students cross roads safely. Sheikh Hasina said this while inaugurating the 4 newly constructed projects implementing under the Road Transport and Highways Division, joining a program virtually from her official residence, Gana Bhavan. The Premier said though traffic police will be there to help them, the school authorities must be careful and their own staff will have to be there so that students can cross roads safely. Education Ministry can issue a directive to the schools from primary to higher secondary levels in this regard. Every school should take the initiative on their own. In 2018, Sheikh Hasina announced plans to construct the underpass 4 days after Dia Khanam Mim and Abdul Karim Rajiv, first-year students of Shahid Ramizuddin Cantonment School, were killed as a bus ploughed into some students in front of Kurmitala General Hospital on Airport Road in the capital on July 29. Amid rising coronavirus cases and fatalities, the health authorities in Bangladesh have marked Dhaka and Rangamati district as high-risk zones because of their high infection rates. After analyzing a week's worth of countrywide COVID-19 data from January 3rd to 9, Director General of Health Services on Wednesday published a list categorizing the different coronavirus-hit districts into 3 zones: red, yellow and green, based on the severity of the pandemic. According to official data, the infection rate in the capital stood at 12.9% and at 10% in Rangamati, both higher than the national average. Meanwhile, Rajshahi, Natur, Rangpur, Lalmonirhat, Joshore and Dinajpur are in the yellow zone with test positivity rates ranging from 5 to 9%. The 54 other districts are in the green zone as their infection rates were between 0 to 4%. The verdict in the murder of Major Sinha Rashid Khan will be delivered on January 31st. Judge Muhammad Ismail of Cox's Bazar District and Session Judges Court set the date after hearing arguments of both sides. The 15 accused in the case were present in court today. They were brought to court in the prison vans from Cox's Bazar District Jail amid tight security. On July 31st last year, Major Sinha was shot dead in police firing at a checkpost in Cox's Bazar, Teknaf Upazila. Later on August 5th same year, Sinha's elder sister filed a murder case accusing former officer in charge of Teknaf Police Station Pradeep Kumar Das, Sub-Inspector Nandolal and 7 others with Teknaf Senior Judicial Magistrate Court in connection with the murder. Cold January may turn colder, with the weather department predicting light rain and fog in parts of Bangladesh over the next 2 to 3 days. Bangladesh Meteorological Department said light to moderate fog may also occur at some places over the country from night till morning. Bangladesh Meteorological Department said rains or thunder showers accompanied by temporary gusty winds are likely to occur at few places in Rangpur, Rajshahi, Dhaka, Mymensingh and Sylhet divisions and at 1 or 2 places in Khulna, Borishal, Chattogram divisions. Light rain is likely to occur at some places till January 15. Night temperature may fall to 1 to 2 degrees Celsius and day temperatures may dip to 2 to 3 degrees across the country. Viewers are taking a short break. Stay with Euro Bangla City SATV News. Welcome back. You're watching Euro Bangla City SATV News. Now international news. The United Nations said Tuesday it needed $5 billion aid for Afghanistan in 2022 to avert a humanitarian catastrophe and offer the ravaged country a future after 40 years of suffering. The UN said $4.4 billion was needed within Afghanistan, while a further $623 million was required to support the millions of Afghans sheltering beyond its border. Total 22 million people inside Afghanistan and a further 5.7 million displaced Afghans in 5 neighboring countries needed vital relief this year. UN Aid Chief Martin Griffiths said a full-blown humanitarian catastrophe looms. Don't shut the door on the people of Afghanistan. The United States yesterday promised more than $308 million in an initial aid package for Afghanistan this year. After a week of deadly unrest in Kazakhstan, Russia-led forces who were sent to quell riots are preparing to withdraw as President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev nominated a new prime minister. Tokayev said on Tuesday that the contingent of troops he requested from the Collective Security Treaty Organizations, a military alliance of ex-Soviet states, would begin leaving the troubled Central Asian countries in 2 days, with a pullout to take no more than 10 days. Kazakhstan and Russia have framed last week's crisis as a coup attempt assisted by foreign terrorists and have provided little evidence to support the claim. The clashes, in which citizens and police were killed, grew out of peace protests against an energy price rise in the west of the oil-rich nation. Russia yesterday said it was not optimistic after a first round of talks with the United States on the Ukraine crisis and would not allow its demands for security guarantees from the West to become mired in torturous negotiations. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said it was positive that Monday's talks in Geneva had been held in an open, substantive and direct manner, but Russia was interested only in results. Russia has pushed the West to the negotiating table by massing troops near Ukraine's border as it presses a set of far-reaching demands that would prevent Ukraine from ever joining NATO. Peskov said that the situation would be clearer after 2 further rounds of talks that Russia is due to hold this week with NATO in Brussels today and at the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe in Vienna tomorrow. More than half of people in Europe will likely catch Omicron by March, the World Health Organization said Tuesday, as the World Bank warned the contagious variant could hamper global economic recovery. WHO warned that repeating booster doses of the original COVID jabs was not a viable strategy against emerging variants. With almost 8 million recorded infections over the past 7 days, Europe is currently reporting the largest number of deaths and cases worldwide. Europe is at the epicenter of alarming new outbreaks, and the WHO said Tuesday Omicron could infect half of all people in the region at current rates. Meanwhile, the World Bank predicted global economic growth will decelerate in 2022 as Omicron risks exacerbating labor shortages and supply chain snarls. World Bank President David Malpass said that the pandemic could leave a permanent scar on development as poverty, nutrition and health indicators move in the wrong direction. An Ethiopian drone strike has killed 17 civilians in the country's Tigray region on the day that President Joe Biden, during a call with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, expressed concern about such attack ongoing war. Reports said women at a floor-grinding mill made up the most of those killed in the Monday drone strike near Maisebri. Such drone strikes have been reported almost daily in Tigray, with an attack over the weekend on a displaced persons camp in Dedabit, killing at least 57 people and wounding more than 130. However, Ethiopia's government and military didn't respond to questions about Monday's drone strike. A court in Saudi Arabia has for the first time ordered that a man convicted of sexual harassment be named and shamed in public. Yasser al-Arawi was found guilty by the criminal court in Medina of harassing a woman using obscene remarks. He was sentenced to 8 months in prison and fined to 1,330. The anti-harassment law was amended a year ago to allow for offenders' names and sentences to be published in local newspaper at their own expenses. The amendment was welcomed by many in the conservative Gulf Kingdom at the time. The anti-harassment law was amended a year ago to allow for offenders' name and sentences to be published in local newspapers at their own expense. Now sports news. Tennis superstar Novak Djokovic on Wednesday admitted meeting a journalist when he knew that he had COVID-19, describing it as an error of judgment. Djokovic also conceded he submitted a false declaration to the Australian government about his travel history between flying to Melbourne, though it blamed it as his agent. The comments were in statement posted on Instagram aimed at addressing the controversies surrounding his efforts to play at the Australian Open while unvaccinated. Despite the admission, Djokovic insisted other reports about him appearing in public following his positive test for COVID-19 as misinformation. He also said that the report of his public appearances after his claimed infection were very hurtful to his family. Bangladesh has won the warm-up match of Under-19 World Cup. Although openers Iftikhar and Prantik Nabil failed, Arch Mullah brought a big collection to the team. He scored maximum 82 runs in the innings. Beside Ariful Islam scored 40 runs and 39 runs came from Ripon Mondo's bat. In response, Zimbabwe was on the verge of victory. If it rains in the middle, the target in front of Zimbabwe is 256 runs. In the end, Naimur Ariful's controlled bowling, Zimbabwe could not turn around. They were reduced to 110 runs. Naimur took 3 wickets. Ariful and Abdullah Al Mamun took 2 wickets each. Bangladesh will start the main episode on January 16 with a match against England. Before ending, we go to the Euro-Bangla City SATV news headlines again. Educational institutions up to higher secondary level must assign their own staff to make sure students cross roads safely, said Prime Minister. Dhaka and Rangamati marked as red zones because of their high infection rates. DGHS published a list categorizing district into 3 zones. Verdict in Sinha murder case on January 31st. 15 accused are currently in jail. Relatives and defendants in anticipation of justice. You're up to date so far here on Euro-Bangla City SATV News, and to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with SATV.